So, Alicia Kearns is a backbench MP, but a very senior one because she's chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee. And she agrees. Delete the app from your phone to protect your personal data. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I mean, we sort of joke about it. This is just an app. You know, Andrew says, isn't it a dance craze? We all know the dances on TikToks. We know that whenever we call to our kids, they're, you know, sort of just completely addicted to them.
Yeah.
What are you worried the Chinese company behind TikTok is doing?
Well, so I think if you look at TikTok, it does look like just dance reels and happy, fun jokes and memes and things like that. But actually, what you are giving TikTok is your locations. You're giving them your network, so who you're friends with, who you're not. You might be sharing with them information or interests you have that you might not want to be public. And the reality is that that data is all going back to ByteDance, which is the company that owns TikTok. Now, this is a Chinese state-owned firm. All Chinese companies have to sign up to Article 7 of the National Intelligence Law, which I know I sound like I'm getting geeky, but essentially that law requires all Chinese companies, if asked by the Chinese government, to hand over any and all data that they are asked to hand over.
What is it?
It's the link between business and government.
There is no dividing line within China. When the Chinese state owns a business, and also with this legislation, which they all have to follow, but it's not just me sat here talking about hypotheticals and going, what if, isn't this worry, you know, bad bear, misbehaving China. TikTok has admitted that their staff in their so-called investigation unit hacked into, well, I guess hacking isn't fair because they've got the data all to hand. They pulled up the data of a BuzzFeed and a Financial Times journalist because they wanted to know who the journalist sources were. So they went in and looked at the locations these two journalists have used. This happened last year, to try and track down who their sources were because people were whistleblowing from inside TikTok to these journalists.
So, listen, my 16-year-old will turn around and say, if you're a journalist, I can understand why that would be a concern. I'm a 16-year-old who's on the school bus going in and I get my phone afterwards and I'm just looking at videos, I'm looking at dance crazes, I'm looking at sporting clips. Really, should I worry? What are the Chinese going to do with my data?
So I recognise it's sometimes a difficult one to say to 16-year-olds, but what does your son want to be in 10 years' time? What does he want to be in 20 years' time? Because the data he's sharing now, that's not going to disappear in 24 hours or in 10 years. They will sit on this data and hold this data. And that's a problem. They can track it, they can hold it, they could use it against you in the future. But also, he doesn't know who he's coming into contact with. And that's the problem. We have a bigger problem here beyond TikTok, which is the amount of data we are sharing with the Chinese government. So CCTV cameras on our streets that are sharing our gates, so people can literally recognise you by the way you walk, the way in which you move your knees and your legs, typical stuff used when we're trying to track down targets in foreign countries, the way you use your mouth, lip reading. These are all technologies the Chinese government owns, even some of the police cameras that our police hold. So when they go inside your home to protect you, that footage of inside British people's homes could be being sent back to China. We have to get a real grip on the fact that we haven't recognised that our biometric data is our biggest risk.
I just want to let you know what TikTok said,
please, yes.
because they said independent experts have consistently found TikTok does not collect any more data than comparable apps such as Facebook or Instagram. We do not provide UK user data to the Chinese government, nor would we if asked. We are keen to have a candid discussion with Ms Kearns to clear up any misconceptions and address her concerns about TikTok. Yeah. Have you had TikTok in front of the Foreign Affairs Committee?
They have, yes. They gave evidence to us where they said that there was no way in which someone's data could be shared. They also said that people's location wasn't being tracked, but then their internal investigation itself said that their staff were using the location data of these journalists from TikTok to hunt down their sources.
Are you going to... It looks like they want to have a chat with you again. Do you want to invite them back in front of the committee?
I have. I've said, if you want to come back in public, come back in front of my committee. But they only want to talk to me in private, and I think the British public have a right to be part of this debate.
Ask them if they'll do it on TikTok, and then you can see what happens.
But then I'd have to have an account, so that would be a slight challenge.
You don't have an account,
I don't,
do
no.
you? And did you say that there are countries where officials are not allowed to have an account?
So both in the United States and in the Netherlands, you cannot download TikTok onto a government device or if you're a government official. And I think that's a really good starting point for a meaningful conversation, because if you think about the data on those platforms, we can't risk that being shared.
Should it be banned here? for government officials?
For government officials, without question, it shouldn't be on their platforms. You know, I encourage my colleagues not to use it. But there is a real challenge where people want to get re-elected, and TikTok is the best way, as you were saying. You know, TikTok is a great way to reach young people. But ultimately, that vulnerability in the message it sends to young people isn't the right one.
Do you revive Matt Hancock's app instead?
I'm not sure any of us need to watch Matt doing any more ironing, so I think that's, I think that's fine.
Andrew, Kevin, thank you very much indeed. Alicia Kearns, thank you. We look forward to TikTok's appearance in front of your committee again.
My door's open.